some of these are just so you can write on, just so you can like, and if you want extra copies of the blanks, just for your own notes, just ask us, and we can always print up extra copies. You've got 2 sheets of semi-blanks. No, 3.
Oh, you're good.
I'm missing one, but you should have another one.
Can I take an extra sheet for
Yeah.
the boy that was here? Or the man
No,
that-
don't take an extra one for him,
Okay.
but you can take an extra one for yourself,
Okay.
because he's going to be back. We're talking about,
Oh,
yeah, he'll be back.
yes.
I'm missing one. I'm going to show you. Okay, that's weird.
Do you want this?
There it is, upstairs. So here's what you've got in terms of oh boy. I just spilled my tea all over everything. In terms of blanks, you've got this completely blank spine, so that you can find your way around. Hey Mish, or somebody, Lillian, somebody help me. Help! They spilled everything. Thanks. So this is just for you to write on, draw on, use. Thank you so much. To explore. Thank you. This is also another blank, a little bit more abstract for you to play with. What we really need is colored crayons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Actually, I have a box of kids' colored crayons. I'll go get them, pass them around. So you can, yeah, you can use these blanks. There's a blank with a little bit of color, but for some reason the colors actually don't make much sense. But whatever. And then I'm going to give you something where the colors actually do make good sense, so that it's color coded correctly. And then I've also got a little. This document here shows you, like, explains how to find vertebrae correctly. It's actually a rather useful cheat sheet,
Great.
just for thinking about spinal location and spinal analysis of location. So these are things for you to peruse.
Do you want to get the
Yeah,
color?
just put it there. This is the color one, which actually the color coding on it makes sense. Did the color copying work finish?
Yeah.
Good, good. Okay.
Did you get that?
Okay. I'm going to continue going through the sacral points and explaining them a little bit. So we look at this 5 elements, and then we see the 5 elements again recapitulated in the sacrum. And so we've got fire at S1, water at S2, which we see represented in small intestine, shu at S1, bladder shu at S2, so bladder 27, bladder 28. And then we come to bladder 29, which I'm going to argue is an earth point. And then we have bladder 30, a little bit lower, which is, I'm going to argue is wood/mammal point. So, arguing that bladder 27 is fire and bladder 28 is water is a no-brainer, right? But let's look at bladder 29. Bladder 29, which is at the level of S3, is called Zhonglu Shu. Zhonglu Shu means the middle of the spine shu point. Right? So Zhonglu Shu is an interesting point to me. Its name suggests a connection to the very middle of the spine, to the area around governor vessel 6, Jizhong, and governor vessel 7, Zhongshu, around T12 and T11 and so on, this kind of central area of the spine. Zhonglu Shu has a number of variant names, which also talk about centrality. They also reference the idea of it being the center or it being kind of like an earth energy. I don't have those names, those variant names in my brain, but my computer does. Let's see if I can just pull those up. Maybe not. There we go. So it's also called Zhonglu Neishu, which means sort of middle spine or center of spine, internal shoe point. It's also called Jineishu, which means inside of spine shoe point. It's a very interesting point, actually. One of the things about Zhonglushu that I think implies the earth energy, aside from the fact that its name seems to connect it to the middle of the spine where the earth shoe points are, the spleen shoe, and so on. If you look at the functions of Zhonglushu, you see a lot of indications for diabetes and for digestive disorders, blood sugar balance, and so on. Normally we don't think of S3 as being really a place we would consider working on the spleen and blood sugar balance, but it's actually in the indications quite clearly.
So I'm sort of confused. You said Ganyu is for the sugar, or UB26, or
Bladder 29. We're looking at bladder 29, which is Zhonglushu.
You say Ganyu?
Zhonglushu.
It says middle spine. Spine shoe.
Zhonglushu, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about bladder 30. So bladder 30 is at the level of the fourth sacral vertebra, and I'm going to suggest that corresponds again to wood. And that if you think about, well, what is wood at the level of S4, that's going to be the genitalia, fundamentally. Bladder 30 lies pretty much between sort of S4 and S5. So again, like bladder 25, the large intestine shoe, it's kind of between wood and metal. And the interesting thing about Baihuan shoe, to me, is the name. Baihuan shoe has two names. One is Baihuan shoe, which is white circle shoe, which suggests the rectal tissue, the anus. It suggests metal because it's a white circle, which is one of the emblems of metal. But it's also called Yuhuan shu, which means jade circle shoe point. And jade can stand for the wood energy. In fact, very often in the body, jade directly is code for that you're dealing with something with the wood energy, the green force. And this point can be called either a Yuhuan shu or Baihuan shu, either jade circle shoe point or white circle shoe point. So to me that's kind of interesting, and it just again points to this schemata of the elements as they are ordered in the Kerr and the reverse Kerr cycle. So I think what would be good to do is to maybe let's just talk a little bit about the bladder channels and their significance, because we've been looking at a vertical hierarchy, if you like, going from unicellular consciousness all the way up to higher states of consciousness, and we're looking at a kind of element breakdown in these ones. But I want to look at the bladder channels themselves, and what I think the significance of the bladder channels is. So I'm going to erase this side of the board. Oh, that actually works pretty good. Cool. And instead I'm going to draw on this the bladder channels. So I'm going to start with the Huatou Jiaji channel. The Huatou Jiaji lies, very close in to the body of the vertebrae. And Huatou Jiaji just means the extra points on the side of the spine that we attribute to Huatou. Huatou was this famous Chinese physician and surgeon and Taoist master who, I think, was executed when he was like 100 years old or something like that, because I think he told the emperor or the emperor's nephew or somebody or other. What's the story? He told them that they were going to die.
He surgered the brain.
Oh, he said they needed surgery on the brain, and was it the emperor who thought it was an assassination?
Chow.
One of the
Chow.
kingdom,
One of the kings,
Yeah,
the king of
the
Chao. something like that.
Chow chow.
Yeah, thanks. He thought that it was an assassination attempt, even though this was a veritable 100-year-old Taoist master of great repute. So he had him killed. Sorry about that, Huato. So anyway, that's the first line that I'm going to suggest is part of the bladder channel system. And then there's the actual back shoe line. This is the line where all the back shoe points are on, the inner bladder line, which we, are very familiar with in Chinese medicine. And then you've got the outer bladder line, which has some points on it.